Hey there, everyone. Welcome to this week's extra special edition of Bulls versus Bears, episode 116, the tinfoil hat edition, inspired by our resident tinfoil hat, Jonathan Takadena, Mr. Conspiracy Theory. And this is kind of inspired by, we're all sick of talking about Iran, US-Iran, and whether he's playing 4D chess or whether he's just an idiot. So it is the tinfoil hat edition. Conspiracy theories around Trump. Is Trump a mad genius or just mad? So welcome, boys. And yes, we had some feedback on the on the YouTube channel that I need to shut the hell up. So please introduce yourselves. I talk too much. Yeah, you go ahead.
Sure.
Please.
So welcome everybody, and if anyone needs a spare tinfoil hat, I've got plenty to share around. Mind you, the theory that I will share today is actually one that I believe in. Is actually happening. That's how crazy it is. Because I've actually got a map of these crazy conspiracy theories. It's called the Great Awakening, and it's like way out there. And I'm like, no, I can't go that far down the rabbit hole. I'll just circle around the edges for today.
From a brand standpoint, maybe I should have vetted this episode before we started. Anyway, sorry, Kai.
That's what I was thinking. Is that like, oh God, if I go too far, like, who's gonna believe me afterwards?
Oh, mate.
I reckon you at home you've got that mind map. It's like the beautiful mind, and he's tracing everything. How is all this connected? Oh my goodness! And like funny, we were talking about this. Me and Jonathan were talking about this before, right? Because I had a time period in my life where I was in that mode as well, and this was back in 2011. You had the king of conspiracy theorists back in the days, it's like Chris Martinson, Errol Salenti, Peter Schiff, Max Kaiser, or whatever his name was. It's so good. I love it because all these conspiracy theories are so good and believable. It's just like, this has to be true.
Yeah, exactly.
So good.
Well, yes, there we are with our tinfoil hats on. Jonathan did make the point that we kind of look like Hershey's Kisses. It was not the intention. But it's pretty... Look, I'm not the greatest of graphic designers, and it was short notice, okay? So you'll have to forgive us for that. Finn, our resident AV expert, Finn, is trying to set us up with a bit more of a professional and polished... we always used to lean into the luxury that probably no one was listening to our podcast until recently, where we actually realised people do. So we'll lift the standards at some stage. Probably not starting today, given what the edition is. So we will do the normal serious stuff leading in.
Yep.
But we'll skip through it and get to the meaty stuff. Okay, so this is the attack map. Basically, now we're The days to normal supply, which is the big red number there, 54, is the most important thing. And this number and the number, and the number on the chart below it there at the moment, it's about 32 billion that we need to make up. That's been lost at the Bowser in the extra, like, to the consumer in extra, it's come out of their pockets basically, and that's just the extra lift on the oil price at the Bowser for the US consumer. I didn't want to put the Australian on there because it was a bit of a scary chart. As you can see, and then the top right-hand corner there is traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. So we had one day, and then
there's a few ships there.
There was 20, and I'm not entirely sure how verified that was. And then this is the blockade. So we're back to zero there. It's not really. Look, the attacks are going on. They're kind of old, but I mean, we're still getting 15 attacks a day. It's not the enormous number that we used to have. So they are sticking to the ceasefire at this point in time. Although the Iranians have apparently been putting naval mines in the Strait, and Trump's told the Navy to shoot to kill if they see anyone trying to do that. But look, as I say, the reason we're doing this episode is because we're a little bit sick of talking about it. The market's kind of ignoring it. I mean, we're flat.
Can I just ask though? So just on that, one thing I have noticed is that we were looking at the fuel situation here in Australia, and it seems to be constant. Like basically 18 days or 20 odd days of fuel to till we run out, and that's been constant for the last bit. And then I've just noticed that I filled up this week, and it's under $2 again. So pretty calm situation.
Theory.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying it's a pretty calm situation for if you read ahead, it should be close to panic stations and fill up, bring out your jerry cans, type situation.
Well, it's like the toilet paper thing, like during COVID. So look, basically the petrol stations in Australia have managed to sell at $1 extra per litre on stuff they bought like 12 weeks before this even kicked off. So I guess that they can probably bring that back down now. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, we're at 96 in oil, and I think it basically becomes we'll be able to get enough, but the price will just continue to grind higher. But basically flat. JT, you won by 0.25 this week.
Still a win. Still a win.
I know. But I will say for the record that I said it was a flip of a coin. I wouldn't be surprised if it's up or down a half, but I actually didn't really. It was a throwaway comment. I didn't actually mean it. But earnings did kind of hold it up.
But I just realised, you asked us for our conspiracy theories, but you didn't ask us for our bullish or bearish for this week.
I did not. So you're going to have to keep that to yourself.
Yeah, so we'll keep it ourselves and reveal it live.
Yes, we'll have to do that. So that slide's going to be wrong. I'm just going to pre-warn you because I obviously didn't update that. If we'd been in the NASDAQ, Kai and I had won, but we're not. So unfortunately, that as my father would say, actually I won't say that. It involves swearing, but basically we've had it off. It's all been tech led. Intel up 19%, Texas Instruments up 19%, GE Vernova was up 17%. On the crappy side, IBM was down 8%, Tesla was down 4% on capex, and then which, to be honest, I think if you were going to give anyone in the world money for capex, it'd be Elon Musk. But I don't know why shareholders hated it. Who else got hammered? ServiceNow got hammered. The SaaS apocalypse apparently is still real. They actually beat, but the guidance wasn't good enough for the market, so they got hammered. But as you can see, I mean, it's fairly mixed overall, but all of the green is concentrated in the bottom left-hand corner there. Micron's still kicking goals. And Netflix just continuing to fall on its sword, and that's GE even over there in next to Tesla, as you can see, which is down 5%. The good thing with Tesla was everything's on schedule, which is very unlike them. I think it's a massive buying opportunity in that thing as it stands at the minute, but and then Aussie market, I mean, there's not much green there really anywhere, truth be told.
The Widowmaker trade is back doing
the
its thing.
Widowmaker is back, yeah.
So
we did say that was never going to last.
So just to explain to everyone, the Widowmaker trade is here in Australia. For some reason, the SPY always lags the mini S&P. And so, as futures traders, you're like, hey, let's buy the laggard, and thinking that the SPY is going to catch up to the mini S&P. And some people even short the mini S&P and go long SPY, and they get carried out in a hearse basically because the US just has outperformed. And there was a period there at the beginning of the war where commodities boomed and Australia did okay, but that has since been erased, and we're back.
Yes, we're back. We're back. Look, the world feels right again. It's never Cochlear was the big news this week, down 45%, which makes me feel better about our CSL position. which is looking horrible as well, and trading at record low valuations across the board, to the point where it's only 2 times assets at CSL at the moment.
Wow.
You can be negative on a company, but I mean, really, everyone's really negative on the vaccine stuff. But what you've got is a situation in New York where flu deaths have jumped by 50-odd%, because very well-educated, idiotic white people decided that vaccines were, speaking of conspiracy theories, going to control your mind. But Cochlear disappointed, had a bad outlook. You covered this, didn't you, Kai, on the COB on Wednesday? Did you not?
I did. And basically, Cochlear, they had really poor earnings based on their developed market. So they're just not selling as much anymore. But yeah, like you said again, I mean, it's just crazy, like the extent at which it's sold off. Like I get that, it's missed its guidance or whatever, right? But I mean, 40%, holy Jesus, that's quite a bit. Another interesting fact, actually, like we were talking about this today, Cochlear doesn't have an options market, so I was quite surprised.
Oh, wow.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, so, but it might be a good opportunity because, I mean, it's Cochlear, right? Like they still produce, the physical products. Their revenue is about $2.3 billion. They're only worth $6.4 billion now, right? So I was just looking at that today. I'm going like, holy cows, this is such an opportunity. There's such a steal. But obviously, like as we all know, with market sentiment, it takes a long time for it to work itself out. So it's probably good we sit down on our hands a little bit. But yeah, it's just so cheap. It's crazy.
So just have a look at let's just say, in theory, you sold puts on CSL on that first dip. Let me get you're getting a sign fairly quickly, basically, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I definitely wanted that stock anyway. But yeah, I think that's what's going to happen with Cochlear. I think, but obviously it's slightly different business. Yeah. So they're two different businesses. Yeah.
And they've always done well. Like, I mean, it just goes to show you that basically the shift towards ETFs and the absolute lack of, as Adam Dawes from Shaw said, the lack of kahunas of the funds management market in this country, where basically most funds are just an ETF dressed up as a fund, so they can call themselves a fund manager at a dinner party when all they're doing is trying to manage their CBA positions to keep up with the index. And it's just sad. Like, I mean, the Australian funds management market is just sad. So, and the ones that were doing well all got smoked in the SaaSpocalypse, and they've all I don't think has anyone seen. Well, I won't mention any names actually. I don't want to do that, but there's been a few noted absences from Ausbiz who used to be on nearly every freaking second session that have all of a sudden taking a sabbatical, and mainly because they're probably in the intensive care unit. There'd be no performance fees. How we're going to keep up my my mortgage payments. But yeah, so really crude jumped up this week. That's a 5-day difference. Like, it feels wrong, but when I pulled the data, it might have just been the absolute low. It doesn't feel like it was up 17%, or there might have been a rollover involved in that. But it's definitely like we've ground up from 88 to 96, 97.
Yeah, I think it went down to like 80, low 80s, right? Like it went on that sell-off.
Oh, okay. So maybe,
So it was on the Friday, like basically like Friday afternoon, it got belted, and then there was a deal, and then it actually rallied.
So I've managed to pull that,
or other way around, basically.
At exactly the right moment.
Yeah.
There's no deals. Back to the Iran thing. JD Vance went to the White House, and he was about to see the president before he left for the peace talks. But Iran never, at any stage, said they were coming to. And CNBC reported that's what he was doing, and then they've had to turn around and go, "Oh no, he's turned up to tell the president that he's not going." and then oil just went straight back up again. So look, the gold, silver, platinum have been risk assets lately for whatever reason. So they've just drifted off this week. I mean, look, truth be told, there's nothing really to report there. So here is how we got to the conspiracy theory thing. So at the start of this week, JT and I were sitting in the office, and I went, I feel like I'm going a bit crazy. Like, am I, or my Twitter feed's not necessarily playing tricks on me, but like, it gives you more of what you want. I said, but it feels like there's a lot of refinery fires.
Yeah, so it was the Geelong one, and we were like,
and it was we were talking about that. We were talking about it before in passing the day before, and then that happened the next day, and we we're like, hey, okay. But in fact, there has been 11 fires in countries not involved in the conflict, like around the conflict. So this excludes Israel, Lebanon, Iran, Iraq, like all of basically anything within missile distance of Iran. So we got Texas there, one in Mexico, one in Ecuador, one in India. The India one was massive. Australia, Pakistan, and a lot of these countries, except for the US, like India, Australia, Pakistan, are three of the worst affected for fuel. And I think Mexico is up there as well. And then obviously they're fighting with America, so it was kind of like, well, who's doing this? And then you watched a YouTube video. It was basically going, which I don't want to spoil your conspiracy theory. It's like, well, Trump wants the Strait. He actually doesn't really want to open the Strait. And I sort of thought about it and went, oh God, well, you know what? Well, maybe. I mean, they probably are surviving better than China, blah blah. And then, which then caused this loop. And Kai's had a chat about the Jared Kushner before, which on the podcast, which was extraordinarily out of context at the time. So he now gets to explain it today, because unless you know the backstory, I'd be like, I barely know who Jared Kushner is. I didn't know his family. I just thought he was like the son-in-law. I didn't realize there was a family history and things like that. So this is what sort of started it. So who's first? So JT, take it away, my friend.
Okay. Okay. So my conspiracy theory is based on peak oil. So you might have heard about peak oil. It was maybe around the 2010s, 2011s. Okay. So top left is the original Hubbard peak oil theory. So he published this in 1950s. They're about 56 from memory. And the thing is, the U.S. military hooked onto it. So his theory was that we're actually this is the best oil situation that we have, but it's going to peak around the 2000s, and it just means that we need to secure energy forever, because energy is finite, the oil is finite, and so based on that, the U.S. military was built. They built a lot of military compounds around the world, and they started off the petrodollar system, meaning that they had bases in the Middle East, and all of the oil was going to be sold in US dollars. And so they had pretty much a monopoly on oil. But then what happened was, if you look at the second chart down the bottom, the peak actually happened. So a lot of the oil fields in America and in the Middle East actually started to peak out and actually started to drift down. And they were actually worried that, hang on, we're going to start running out of oil earlier. Hence the wars in the Middle East, Afghanistan, Iraq. But there was a shale revolution, meaning that they actually found oil in America. So if you see that chart there, the oil production actually started to rise up.
So that's the green line, yeah?
Yeah, the green line. So yeah, it's like, hang on, we found this extra oil here. Fantastic. We're good. We don't have to worry about, going around the world, basically securing all the oil in the future. But what's happened recently is that all of the shale fields are starting to peak as well. And what that means is or in theory, is that someone got into pretty much the Department of Defense got into Donald Trump's ear saying that, hang on, we actually don't have all these infinite stocks of oil because we're an energy powerhouse now. And China has actually been securing a lot of rare earths and other commodities all around the world for the last 20 years. If we want to go to war with China, we will lose because they control the supply chains. So in short, is that, if you want to go to war, it's actually a supply chain issue, meaning that, it's the number of bullets that you have, it's the number of weapons that you have. But China controls pretty much that. They have a stranglehold or a choke point on all of that.
But they make the bullets, don't they?
Absolutely. So, we joke about antimony or antimony, that's actually made in bullets. And so China controls all of that. And so the Department of Defense sees China as a threat. And because the US has all of these stores of sort of natural energy, they're like, hang on, what happens if we actually just choke off the rest of the world? Okay. We're going to suffer. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not going to be a clean sheet for us. But guess what? I think the rest of the world is actually going to hurt more than we are. And so if you look at the world crude oil production on the top right, that's the new projected oil. So there's that little blip there for the shale revolution, but they're predicting that oil is going to actually drop off in production going into the future. So they're like, hang on.
And China's like laying out nuclear power plants and renewables like no man alive.
Exactly. So they knew
they're ahead of the game.
Exactly. And they could see this coming as well. So they're like, okay, so how about we do this? Let's just let's just block off the Strait of Hormuz. Look, actually, first let's secure Venezuela, which has the largest known reserves. Okay, and lo and behold, they can actually process and refine all of that oil in Mexico, or sorry, not Mexico, in Texas, and then ship it out to the rest of the world. And so my theory is that because of this, the US has an unfair advantage in energy right now. And I was actually, this is where I came onto Ausbiz and actually tried to explain this, and I didn't go into the whole conspiracy behind this. But
yeah, please don't do that on national television.
Yes, that's why. So in America, they are paying $2.70 per million BTU units. I think that's the actual measurement. In terms of energy in that futures contract, that's the equivalent of $16 WTI. So the rest of the world, Brent crude is trading at $100. So the rest of the world is paying 5 to 6 times as much as what the US is paying for energy. Okay. Natural gas in Europe, they're paying $14, while the US is paying $2.70. Japan is paying $16, while US is paying $2.70. So if you're a chemical company in Germany, if you're a chemical company in Japan, you can't compete with the chemical companies in America because their energy inputs are so much lower than the rest of the world now. And so my conspiracy theory is that the US makes it they want to make it look like they want the straits open, but the longer it stays closed, they're fine. They're actually going to come out better in this whole situation. And so it all boils down to the dollar milkshake theory. So this is a theory that Brent Johnson.
Hang on. It was one conspiracy per person, mate. No, what's going on?
No. It all ties in. It all ties in. But the whole point of Brent Johnson's dollar milkshake theory, and it's on the petrodollar, is that basically the US dollar is the worst of the cream of the crap, basically. So yeah, the US dollar is terrible. Okay. But the fact is the world still trades on the US dollar. Now they have a lock on energy around the world. Guess what? There's just going to be so much money that has to pump into America because they need the energy, and they're going to create and borrow and spend US dollars to get it. And it means that the US debt markets are still safe.
My conspiracy theory is in direct opposition to that, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's the whole point, is that this is a theory, and happy to be wrong about this, but this is kind of what I always see. I don't always, but I see things through the lens of energy. Like you need energy to build things, to construct things. And so if you look at what Trump has done, just here in 2026, it's all about energy. And does he want the Straits open? I guess not. That's my theory.
That is massively concerning. And we're now going to go to.
Jonathan's a bit of a natural at this. Oh my god! I was like, I was listening to you explain it. I'm like, oh my god, it sounds so good.
Yeah,
that's the point. That's the point.
Like this was supposed to be a funny episode, not a crap. I'm going to have to get a water tank to go and fill up with diesel because we're all going to die. Like, yeah. But anyway, so thankfully we're finishing with my theory, which is ridiculous. So not very funny, but we will now do so. We will now go into Kai's theory, which is the because you explained, they're sending Jared Kushner and blah blah blah, and and I really felt like, and I mean, you this is the one you wanted to explain anyway, but I was going to suggest it regardless because I thought, like, if you didn't know, because I asked you straight after the podcast, what the hell were you talking about with Kushner? Like, I don't even know what's going on there. So Uncle Bibi, which is Benjamin Netanyahu, and then I'm assuming that's Jared Kushner there, a young Jared Kushner. But mate, take it away. This looks a touch fraught with danger, this one. Slightly less on the economic side.
Because I was thinking about it, and I'm going like, how does Israel have so much sway in the US, right? Because, obviously a lot of the things that they're doing now, and you're going like, holy cows, if this was another country, the US would be pulling out straight away, or wouldn't be even entertaining the idea of going into the Middle East or supporting Israel if it wasn't Israel, right? So I kind of dug a little bit deeper, and I'm going, okay, well, let's find out what the missing link is and how did they actually come about with such big influence, right? So this is what I uncovered. The center of it is
uncovered. Like, we don't, like, normally we give a general advice warning. I'm just gonna go like, this is a whole new general advice warning. This is not advice in any way, shape, or form. Do not, under any circumstances, make any financial decisions based on this information. Okay, so this is Sorry,
this was so compelling.
Yeah.
This was so compelling because it kind of made sense, right? And I'm going, okay, look, like Trump listens to Bibi, right? Like, what's going on? Right? How is it that they're all so tied and connected together? So apparently, how it started off was like, the Kushner family and Benjamin Netanyahu, they've known each other for years and years and years. And for people who don't know about the Kushner family, they're actually one of the biggest real estate developers in New York. So again, in the same circle as Trump and all that. And basically, Kushner's dad was quite good friends with Benjamin Netanyahu. They were Holocaust survivors as well. So basically, Kushner's dad and then mum as well from Eastern Europe came over to the US and started off a real estate empire. So the backstory was that, and basically Netanyahu used to stay over all the time. So they had a really good relationship. Now, how does this work? Because, you go, okay, well, once Trump got in as president, and of course, Jared Kushner is the husband for Ivanka. So I guess his son-in-law. So they obviously have a tight family relationship. But I think this is where it gets a little bit interesting because Jared Kushner was one of the key architects of the Abraham Accord, which is the peace deal in the Middle East between the UAE, Bahrain, basically a lot of the Middle Eastern countries and Israel, and they're on much better terms after the accord. But how does it all tie together, right? Because Mohammed bin MBS, so the king of Saudi Arabia, apparently, they have a massive fund that they do sovereign investments through. that funded about $2 billion of investment into Affinity Partners, which is the private equity firm that Jared Kushner runs, right? So these were the comments online. Basically, when he tried to go pitch for funding from other people in the US, they just shot him down. They're like, this guy has no experience, nothing. Why would we ever give him money? So for a Saudi fund, sovereign fund, to give $2 billion to this, relatively inexperienced and new private equity firm, there's something shady here, I reckon. So I think Saudi Arabia wants, on similar lines with Israel, they want to tame Iran, right? So Iran is both a problem for, of course, Israel as well as Saudi Arabia. One, they control the strait, as we all see now. It's a massive problem for Saudi Arabia. And then basically, Trump and MBS are, well, of course, the US and Saudi Arabia have a very good working relationship. So as you can see, at the moment, Jared Kushner is basically the negotiation team between all this. So he's really the centerpiece for everything, right? So it's like, I think that formative relationship early on with Netanyahu has had a big influence, and basically there's a lot of pull that Kushner has in the background that's going around, and he's really profiting off this because basically the Saudis are paying his PE firm to invest, and that's paid off fairly handsomely. So that might be another hole that Trump is trying to make some money out of the markets. But again, as Mark said, this is it's not conclusive evidence, or a bit of theory, but it
and
seems very convincing.
We're going to end up on a no-fly list after this episode, I think, at this rate. So we get, and look, my conspiracy theory was kind of around those refinery fires, but it was kind of, well, I mean, look, they're still under investigation. It's a live example. So I thought I'd address because something from the crypto bros, which is the Trump Bitcoin gambit, and they're basically they're super. The Trump family are anti banks and they're very pro crypto, and there is this theory floating around that how they're going to pay off the US debt, and it does make sense in terms of technically it could happen. I don't know whether that, I think there'd be a fair bit of fallout over it. But essentially, Trump's legalized, reserves of Bitcoin and all this sort of thing, and they've seized a lot of it because it's in criminal activity. But as the theory goes, they quietly accumulate Bitcoin over the course of a couple of years. And look, and where it all falls apart is Bitcoin's total market cap. But essentially they accumulate Bitcoin and then they detonate a bomb on the basically that Bitcoin is now our primary reserve, which would absolutely trash the US dollar. And of course, all of the treasuries are in US dollars. So if you've got 40 trillion in debt and all of a sudden your currency halves and it's in US dollars, all of a sudden it's 20 trillion bucks worth of debt, effectively in nominal terms now. And if you've printed money to trash the US dollar to buy Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin goes from 100,000 to $1 million, then you sell your Bitcoin and take some profit on the way up, and essentially then pay off half your debt with the profits you've made from Bitcoin. Which, look, I mean, in theory, awesome plan. But it would literally, I think it's very what this is very simplistic, and essentially blowing up your own currency, which is the reserve currency of the world, and the petrodollar and the God knows what. We're talking, we're talking. There'd be some collateral damage out of this, basically. And when I say collateral damage, a lot of damage. I don't think prop trading it would exist anymore. I think when the Swiss central bank removed the floor from the Swiss franc to the dollar, I think that annihilated about half the proprietary trading firms in Europe. So, God, throwing a hand grenade or nuking the US dollar would have there'd be some fallout. But that's that's one of the conspiracy theories floating around. That's why he's so pro crypto. And look, and another theory why he's so pro crypto is he's just very clearly trying to enrich himself and his family over the course of this presidency. And crypto's probably a slightly less, there's less eyes on it, I suppose. I mean, there's rules about insider trading, but they're that Barron kid keeps making those awesome trades 20 minutes before his dad makes an announcement on whether he's going to invade Iran or not all the time. So I don't think they care that much. But he does have the Trump family's got 15% of their net worth now, supposedly, in crypto of some form. So and they apparently he became so unpopular the banks wouldn't lend money to him. So he's railing against the system, man. So yeah, but while that's plausible, yet again, this one got me because I was listening to a crypto guy about it, and I'm sitting there going, oh crap, could he actually? That's really smart. Until I realized, you'd have to accumulate nearly all of Bitcoin, and it'd have to go to about $3 million for even to make a dent in any of this. But it was a good theory. That's it's nowhere near as creepy as Jared Kushner sharing a bed with Netanyahu, or as depressing as JT's bleak outlook for diesel prices. But albeit the same either way. Now, that went short. Yeah, we're only at 38 odd minutes. That's fine. Because I was very, very concerned and very clear with the boys before we started this. But
6 or 7 minutes, you said.
This cannot be a 7-hour podcast. So JT, well done. You squeezed it in by a quarter.
Win's a win.
Win's a win.
Whether it's 0.2 or 22, it's still a win.
That's absolutely correct. And greed, actually, the fear and greed went up a little bit this week, despite the fact that it's down slightly. So I think it was 60 last week. So it's a little bit more even. Kai went out to that massive lead, and he's had an absolute shocker lately. So
yeah. So what I've done, guys, is I've actually teamed you my response.
Oh,
so yeah.
Right.
So
okay.
Yeah. So I think Kai, you should do the same, so it doesn't affect it, and then you can do the big reveal.
Let me submit my vote, postal vote.
Submit your vote. Which it seemingly, it probably seems unfair that an unfair advantage to me, but if you think that and you've got a conspiracy theory on that, just look at the score, because I'm coming last. So yes, Kai Chan. What do we got here? Well, you know what? I'm not going to flick to the next slide because we're all going. Oh well, I did accidentally. We're the same again. I'm bullish. Kai's bullish, and you're bearish, JT. So
okay, let's go for another 0.2 win.
Yeah, I mean, they said, what's your theory? Apart from peak oil, what's your theory on bearish this week, JT?
Well, it's actually your mate. Aren't they going to send boots on the ground this weekend or next weekend because it lines up with the lunar cycle?
No, the next 2 weekends line up. No. That was me. That was because I just remember from a podcast we looked at the lunar cycle and they don't invade on a full moon. So my friend who's got contacts in the Middle East is saying like this weekend or next weekend, and hilariously the first thing I did was, oh, is it a full moon this weekend? So we got till mid May apparently. He could invade any 3 weekends. and obviously that's just, I mean, there was just a general feeling, I suppose, over there. But he's been pretty good so far. He was pretty solid on Venezuela, and he was pretty solid on, because I don't think we thought they were going to go into, do this whole thing with Iran. So, but they've got a 2 to 3 week window before the waxing gibbon turns into a full moon. But yeah, so but my reason I'm bullish, and I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm massively bullish, is
can we explain this conspiracy? Can we explain
which
this?
one?
The full moon. Like, I feel like
it's generally they don't go in on a full moon because you can see the planes and blah, blah, like, it's more, there's more vision at night. So the element of surprise, I believe.
Yeah, don't forget the US has the best night vision glasses out there. So
yeah, that's right.
Go in when it's darkest.
Yeah, no, they can see the drones on a full moon, I suppose. It's just practical. There's more light. It's not there's no stuff around it.
It's not Elliott wave, basically.
Yeah, no, that's right. And so and we've obviously got a now not everything's a conspiracy, guys. This is
tinfoil hat on, man.
It was just, man, you got to get it off. We're gonna have to get them. But no, it's merely a vision thing. It's okay. The reason I've gone bullish is that the 4 of the Mag 7 report this week, basically, and I just think that Trump's going to let that cement the market overall, and then I think, mate, if there is any invasion, well, if we listen to you, there'll be an invasion at some stage, JT, or at least delay. But yeah, so, and what are you looking? Why are you bullish, Kai? Apart from BB,
I just think the market wants to get long. Like, I think that if there's, I don't think next week they're going to make any decision whether to unblock or to invade. So I'm just going bullish because I think the market wants to be long. That's pretty much all.
I heard something really interesting, that apparently how savage the rally's been was that everyone was like super short at the bottom. And I've heard stories from mates who are on desks and stuff in Europe that some guys got some of the vicious moves in the front end of the short sterling and stuff like that. There's guys who have dropped $1 billion euro.
Wow.
In hedge funds and stuff, because apparently the UK was cutting rates, and they're there's something like a 200 basis point turnaround in a week, and
wow,
and it's just So and so I just think everyone got a little bit caught out, and just it almost is the national sport of the Americans to just be bullish. They will find a way. Like I said, when I listen to Bloomberg radio in the mornings, I swear to God, it's just like there's a war going on, right? Like, that there's no oil has gotten out of that strait for literally 60 odd days, and they're talking about the weed stocks and psychedelics and going to the dark side of the moon, and no, they're more concerned about private credit than they are the Strait of Hormuz getting open, to be brutally honest. That's a real favorite topic. But yeah, it's frightening. And that's why, we might, once our clients start trading US stocks, it's like, you can be in Cochlear and copper 45% and CSL and copper 45 to 50% drop in a high quality company, or you can go and buy Oklo, which is not going to make $1 for at least 5 years, in small modular reactors, and make 300% in about 2 weeks. It's like, which market will I choose? I don't know. So yeah, well, I won't. I mean, we won't do this because we've sort of run long. But anyone who's listened to our podcast or stuff, essentially, we've got this new strategy, buy the dip. It's a once in a 4-year opportunity because of the midterm election cycle. On average, there's a minimum in this mid-May to mid-October period. It drops 10%. 100% of the midterm elections since 1940, so that's 86 years. Average bounce out of that low, also the average is actually down 17%. Average bounce out of that low in 1 year is 36.5. 80% of the time, or 78% of the time, it occurs in this window, and the market ends up positive 86% of the time. So basically, there's just panic about policy uncertainty leading into it, and then everyone realizes it's okay and it bounces back out. We are overvalued at the moment as well, so there's at least a 10% plus correction more than 70% of the time when we're this overvalued. So what you need to do is buy the dip. This is the most statistically compelling strategy we put out by some, we've done this strategy before in the S&P, but this year particularly, and this time frame is much more compelling than usual. And it's super capital efficient. Get on board. If you own an index ETF in the S&P, you are nuts to not sell it and buy this thing, essentially, because you're selling it overvalued, and then you're getting the lowest Monday close of the next 6 months, where you've got statistically one of the highest chances to buy down 10 to 20%, and you only got to put down a fifth of the capital. So overall, it is and we've tried to not use the word no-brainer too much, but JT has. I've been using it liberally. It is a no-brainer in my mind. So. At least have a bit of a look and go to scan the QR code.
Just as a background, the reason why I try and lightly use the phrase no brainer is that it was kind of like a curse in one of the desks that I traded on. As soon as someone said this is a no brainer, that trade would just turn around on a dime all the time. So we're talking
about the index, not a junior miner who's got 2 years shed in the middle of the WA. So it's slightly not quite apples for apples. And look, if you want to, if you put a bit of the fixed income side into this as well, you can actually smooth the risk on the trade even better. If you've got any questions, ask our resident actuary / AI expert / Jared Kushner expert, Kai Chen. He's a man of many talents. So, but thanks for putting up with this week. Hopefully you've all, like I said, I'm sure everyone's a bit over this whole scenario. So we just thought we'd do something different. Thanks, gents. I loved your theories. I'm feeling slightly concerned that I work with you, but so be it.
Maybe they're true.
Maybe
they're not.
So we probably should have done that. So, but are they? But
what if?
Yeah, what if? You see, I've got the beard. Maybe I can do that. So, but look, have a great Anzac Day weekend. Lest we forget, make sure you go to the dawn services and stuff and pay your respects, people. Because we wouldn't have the petrodollar and peak oil if it wasn't for Anzacs. And we will chat again next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feeling lost with investing? Meet Mosaic. Mosaic is MPC Markets' platform that turns confusing markets into clear, actionable guidance for your portfolio. Discover Mosaic today. Portfolio and trade ideas in one place for clients and subscribers, powered by MPC Markets.